It's Thursday, September 25th, 2014. Welcome to another Galactic Netcast. This is the alien invasion number 119 in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. I'm Dave Nelson. Joining me as always from the very beginning, and it's back where that was back then, with only me and you tonight. It's Brad Ludwig from Wausau, Wisconsin. How you doing, Brad?
Doing very well, Dave. Yourself?
Not too bad. Anessa's missing this evening. She is in her home state of Texas, right?
Yes, she is. Visiting family and friends.
Have you gotten reports from her today?
Today, yes. She did stop at the Home Depot.
What was she doing there?
Unknown. But she did send me a picture of her at the Home Depot. And she did go to the H-E-B, which is a big grocery chain in Texas, and picked up some of her favorite Whataburger ketchups and other sauces that they have available for sale.
Okay. That's one of the great things about traveling different parts of the world and country is you see different. That's one of the only types of store remaining that really is a regional thing, right? Grocery stores. Because
Yeah.
there's certain grocery stores in the Midwest in the U.S. There's certain type of grocery stores here in Canada. There's other types down south and in Texas. And that's something that you don't see in other types of retail, right?
Wow. No, well, I could think of, Walmart's not a good example, but like a J.C. Penney or a Kmart. I think you see it in retail, but I think you see a lot smaller chains. I think with grocery stores.
Yeah, it's not as much or as prevalent as anymore, just because of how Walmart's pretty much taken over the world. But it's cool to see that it still thrives in grocery chains. I like that. All right, welcome to the show where we talk about aliens, the extraterrestrial kind, and where you spot them in film, TV, video games, comic books, science, and quote-unquote real life. The show is broken down into three areas. The news, that's the first thing that we do. The craft corner, that's the spotlight of a certain kind of alien spacecraft, and our picks for the week. If you want to watch us do the show live, feel free. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. Find out when that's going to be. Otherwise, just go to. You've got two options. On Thursdays, we stream the shows live. galacticnetcasts.com/live or youtube.com/Galactic Netcasts. And watch us do the show live, or just subscribe to us later on iTunes or Stitcher and listen to the show. All right. And here we go. Let's start with the thing that we always start with.
In the news.
And Brad, since Inessa's here, you've got two stories this evening. And what's your first one?
The first one is from, I need to scroll down, from IO9, and it was an interesting article that caught my attention, and it's titled, "Is there any plausible reason why aliens would evolve to look like us?" Which is a very good question. This article raises a number of good questions and some great ideas. To start, when you have aliens in a film, they look more humanoid. Think of Star Trek. You have budget constraints, and you have to make the prosthetics, and they have to be able to fit and move and still look somewhat believable when attached to a human face. But when you're talking about an alien, their DNA, they are built entirely differently from the ground up, so there is no need for prosthesis. One of the people interviewed, Michael H. New of astrobiology discipline, he's an astrobiology discipline specialist at NASA, and he said most aliens in sci-fi are humanoid because humans produce science fiction. While we are interested in the other, our conception of otherness is often limited. And a lot of experts firmly believe that aliens would not look like humans. For example, Stephen Jay Gould claims that life that evolved elsewhere would look totally different from us. And in fact, if you quote-unquote reran the tape from the beginning of life on Earth, you wouldn't end up with humans on this planet either. The emergence of humanoids on Earth is a totally random event that was a fluke, even with the exact conditions that we arose from. So, I mean, technically, did you ever read the short story from Ray Bradbury called Delicate Sound of Thunder?
No, but that title sounds really familiar. Or am I am I mixing it up with that song or that album title?
From Pink Floyd. No,
Yeah.
It's an interesting tale because humans develop time travel, and they have a hunting expedition where you can go back in time and you can shoot a dinosaur, but you cannot touch anything else. You cannot interact with anything else. And the dinosaur that you are there to shoot is going to die anyway, so it changes nothing in its death. And what ends up happening is somebody falls off the trail and they step on a butterfly.
The butterfly effect. That's where the name comes from, right? The term comes from.
Correct. And when he kind of hides the fact that he's done this thing, that he's killed this butterfly, and thinks nothing of it. And after they shoot the dinosaur and they go back to their time, everything's changed. And so that's what they're talking about here. If something had happened slightly differently, if we quote-unquote reran the tape, there could have been some outside force that could have nudged us in a different path. And maybe we'd have ears somewhere else on our face. Maybe we would have gills. Maybe we wouldn't have left the ocean. There are many different things that could have happened to make us not look like we are now.
Yeah, so it could have been that some kind of insect species would evolve into something intelligent, right? That's
Sure.
a possibility.
Maybe the mammals were made extinct, and insectoids were the dominant life force on the planet, and would achieve sentience and whatnot. So there's a couple of different things that we talk that they talk about when they discuss aliens and otherness, as they mention in the article. And we've talked about this concept before. It's panspermia. And the most common explanation for creatures that look sort of like us turning up all over the universe would be that either humanoid aliens spread their DNA across the galaxy to give rise to creatures in their image, or the DNA just spread through the galaxy on its own on asteroids and stuff. And that's a concept that we've talked about before.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because I just watched the latest trailer for Jupiter Ascending tonight, and it's the first one that makes the movie look really, really good. And the story behind that movie is basically this species of human beings from elsewhere in the galaxy. They basically seeded the galaxy, and that's sort of panspermia in a cool way. But you're talking like asteroids bringing proteins.
Yeah, not so much copulation as random chance taking bits of biological material, and through there was a story not too long ago where they actually found. And they talked about it before, but they had definitive proof that material from Mars has landed on Earth. And that's just and this is old stuff. This isn't like we've been recently invaded or anything crazy like that. This is from meteor strikes from millions of years ago, where the material was kind of carved away from Mars and was launched out and was pulled into Earth's gravitation and was transplanted on Earth, thus giving more credibility to the concept of panspermia. So to go a little further into this, convergent evolution. The thought that maybe humanoids just evolved on other planets separately from us because they just arrive at the same destination via other paths. So maybe being a bipedal creature that walks upright and has opposable thumbs is kind of the way that you need to go in order to give rise to technology and communications and things like that that would propel a species forward to colonize, to live on a planet, to be the dominant force on the planet.
Yeah, and people have often talked about other species on Earth that are possibly really intelligent, like what is it? Not starfish. It's big, the fishes they're kind of wide-bodied, and I always forget the name of the type of. Anyways, they move things around. They create order in their little ecosphere.
Octopus?
Squid? Yeah, octopus and squid. Supposedly they're a lot smarter than we think they are, or even dolphins or whales. Supposedly they're smart, but they can't do anything with it because they don't have the limbs to create tools or to manipulate things,
Yeah, there was a story a while ago, maybe more than a year ago, I think, where they had scientists had found in an ancient seabed area that had, of course, since dried up, but they had been doing some digging, and they found from millions of years ago bones had been put into a pattern that looked like a giant octopus. And the thought is, in this area where they were excavating in is an area where ancient sharks from millions of years ago, when I say ancient, I mean ancient, this is an area where they found a lot of them had died. And the thought then was, if you had an octopus, which has soft tissue, and cartilage. I mean, that's what makes it its composition, what makes it an octopus. The thought was that this octopus may have been very large. This may have been its hunting ground, and it got bored and decided to make representational art of itself from fragments of other bits of the sharks and other things around it, shells and whatnot, and it actually laid out a pattern which kind of gives rise to the thought of self-awareness, that maybe this was an extremely intelligent octopus that had a sense of self and decided that it was going to make a representation of what it had seen of itself through its own eyes, which was truly fascinating. So, yeah. The other thing too is the bilateral symmetry. Now, and we're going to go back to the article here. Let's say that the notion of aliens separately evolving bodies that have more or less a human silhouette is kind of unlikely. It's still possible that bilateral symmetry, in other words, our arms are in the same position but on opposite sides of our bodies, the legs the same, the eyes, the nostrils, the ears. That symmetry could be constant among intelligent life forms, say some experts. This refers to the fact that your left and right sides are more or less the same, like I said. Bilateral symmetry appeared independently several different times in the evolution of larger organisms on Earth. So bilateral symmetry may be a common feature of intelligent life, regardless of whether it's specific body plan. So, assuming an intelligent alien is symmetrical and has some of its limbs devoted to tool use, like we do, our hands, then it might end up being roughly bipedal. And with the sensory organs like the eyes, will have to be forward-looking and not too far away from the tool-using limbs, again, like our setup, which means you'd end up with something like a head, because the nervous system will be close to the sensory organs for maximum efficiency. So, just by necessity of design and efficiency and how biology will try to, like the concept of Occam's razor, the simplest solution or the simplest explanation is usually what it is. So that would be a representation of this. It's simple, and that's going to be the way that life is going to evolve. So it's just kind of incidental.
It'd be really interesting to find a species somewhere in the galaxy that looks like us, but they're not like based on a mammal life form. They're based more on a insectoid life form or a lizard. What's a lizard? It's a generic overarching.
Crab. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's
People are out there going, it's...
Yeah, they're screaming it right now.
Mummies. But different types of life form.
Oh, amphibious? Is that what you're...
Yeah, and amphibious. Yes, you are correct, sir. But they would look like us, but they wouldn't be based on warm-blooded mammals. That'd be interesting.
One of the things that the article does mention is the thought that us being warm-blooded, here it is, our opposable thumbs helped us grasp tree branches and also hold tools, and walking upright was useful as well. Finally, being warm-blooded helped us power our big brains. So maybe you could have an amphibious life form that has maybe a more compact brain, but is maybe spread out through the core, so it can sort of what warmth it gets, it can kind of insulate and keep. So yeah, who knows? Yeah. But a lot of interesting things here, and I edited the heck out of this article. We only touched on a few things, so if you go to the show notes, you can click the link to the IO9 article. It's really, really well worth the read if you're interested in thinking about not just movie aliens, but actually what an alien life could be like, or why we are the way we are. It's a very thought-provoking article that I think you should read.
I think Hollywood has done a better job recently in making their aliens look more like, not necessarily human-like anymore, but more like exotic, or more what an alien might look like. Like I was thinking about the aliens on Edge of Tomorrow. They did not look at all like human bipedal.
Yeah, and one of the things, it kind of gets back to the thought process earlier on, a budget constraint. You can do so much now with a home computer than you could 20 years ago for 3D design and things like that. I'm going to be talking about, my pick this week is a short film / proof of concept that maybe it wasn't necessarily done at home, but 20 years ago you couldn't have done something like this that looked this good, that was as seamless with a CGI creature.
Ooh, can't wait. That's a tease.
Yeah, it is a tease. You're welcome.
The other thing I was thinking about too is maybe Hollywood has made human-looking aliens because they're more relatable. Did you mention that? Yeah, you mentioned that at the very top of the article, I believe.
Yeah, well, maybe not so much. Well, not relatable, but just with budgetary constraints, and if you're working with a prosthetic, you still have to put it on a human face. So there are certain limitations that you have with that. So
the joke on Star Trek was always like, where are they going to put the ridges this time? On the nose, on the neck.
Yep.
They didn't really vary too much, and sometimes they just seemed like they were lazy.
Yeah.
Species of the week on Star Trek. All right, very good, Brad. Let's move on to the second story of the week, and this is more Hollywood. Syfy orders Alien terrorism series from Walking Dead producer, and I'm really excited about this. I'm actually really excited about what Syfy has up their sleeve in the next few years. I just saw tonight that they renewed Defiance. And what's the Dominion show?
Okay.
So it's, again, we've mentioned this on other episodes. It seems like Syfy is getting back to their sci-fi roots. And here's another one. It's a 13-episode series. It's called Hunters. It's about an alien terrorist network on Earth. The project is based on Whitley Strieber's novel, Alien Hunter.
Nice.
Whitley Strieber, the guy who was the real guy based on the book and the movie Communion.
Yep.
That was supposed to be Whitley. his real-life experience. In the book, a Philadelphia cop searches for his missing wife, leading and discovering a secret government unit that assembled to hunt a group of ruthless terrorists who may not be from this world. Ooh. And listen to this. We were so impressed by the pilot script from this outstanding and accomplished creative team led by Gail Ann Hurd of The Walking Dead.
Yep.
And Natalie Chaidez. I'm sure I'm botching that pronunciation. And this is from Syfy President David Howe. This fast-paced and innovative program takes viewers inside a chilling yet all too familiar world. Syfy has ordered a brand. No, they've been
on a brand building tear.
Yes, brand building terror recently, like I mentioned at the top of this story. Greenlighting more literary-based and hardcore sci-fi projects, adding hunters to a new series such as The Expanse, 12 Monkeys, and Killjoys, all of which I think we've either mentioned on this show or the Sci-Fi Geeks Club, and the miniseries Childhood's End, which is also based on a novel or a short story by which famous science fiction author?
Good question. Hang on.
Childhood's End.
Childhood's End, Arthur C. Clarke.
Arthur C. Clarke, thank you. So
1953 that he wrote.
Yeah. So all these shows adding up to a potential comeback for sci-fi, which I'm very, very excited about.
It's about damn time.
Good news for the Canadians listening. Basically, all the shows that come on Sci-Fi will eventually, in most cases, will come on at the same time on the Space Network. So, good news for all of North America. North America is covered in the sci-fi realm. Hunters is scheduled to premiere on Sci-Fi sometime in 2016.
Nice.
So, what could Gail Ann Hurd do with a show like this? Could we be seeing a Walking Dead vibe, maybe, possibly?
I could see one of the things about, and that you learn very quickly, and I'm not spoiling anything because this has been mentioned before, never get attached to a character on The Walking Dead. Never.
Mm-mm.
As soon as you do, that rug is going to get yanked out from you hard. So I could see some of that. That would dovetail into this pretty good. And like they were saying, we live in times now where terrorism is the key word. Everybody's afraid. Everybody's looking for when the next attack's going to come. And it's not surprising that they would create a show, that ties into that, because that is very, very relatable. And hopefully this show is going to do very well for Sci-Fi.
I kind of want to read the book now, Alien Hunter. That sounds like it would be good insight for the show coming on.
Yep. And Childhood's End. I've read some of Arthur C. Clarke's stuff, like the Caves of Steel and some things like that. It'd be interesting to read something else of his and find out what that's all about.
Maybe we should start a Galactic Netcast book club. That'd be kind of fun.
There we go.
We'll all read a book together. Sure, that's not...
We did that for the Sci-Fi Geeks Club with The Martian, so it's not outside the realm of possibility.
That was like pulling teeth, though, Brad. That was hard for us all to get through one book. I don't know if we could do it on a regular basis. That might be tough.
I was the first one done.
Why you're the smartest.
No, I'm just the one that reads very quickly and retains a lot.
I read very slowly and I retain nothing.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. Sci-Fi, another new series premiering next year. I wonder when what they have as the premiere dates for the other shows on this list. Killjoys, 12 Monkeys, and The Expanse. IMDb might have those if they've been announced. That's the thing.
Yeah. That's a very good question. I'm checking IMDb right now. There we go. Killjoys is
2016.
Yeah, it says actually Killjoys is saying 2014.
Oh, really?
They do have cast members here. No, episode 1, 2015. Okay.
And I know 12 Monkeys is pretty far along too, because
Yeah.
they've actually shown like a teaser trailer for that show.
Yeah, I was kind of taken aback because the main actor who is playing Bruce Willis's character. Am I mixing him? No, it's Bruce Willis's character. Is being played by the guy that played Pyro in the X-Men films. In the Bryan Singer, the X-Men 1, 2. I think he appeared in 3. Yeah, he appeared in 3. But he played Pyro, and I'm like, oh, I know that guy. And I had to think about it for a little bit, and I'm like, oh yeah, X-Men, okay. So.
And The Expanse, that's based on a book that I read, and I forget the name of it right now, but it takes place in our solar system in the not-too-distant future. A lot of intrigue involved in that show. So, all right, let's move on.
It's based on James S.A. Corey novels called The Expanse, called The Expanse.
Well, the first one, I believe, was called something else.
Based on Leviathan.
Yeah, Leviathan Wakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, lots to look forward to. Let's wrap up the news with your second story of the episode.
All right, and your article came from Inside TV from Entertainment Weekly, but now we go back to IO9. I love that. Yeah. I love that site so much.
The best well to go back into it.
And this was kind of an interesting one that actually you kind of put me hip to here was Ridley Scott says Prometheus 2 is Xenomorph-Free. When Noomi Rapace, sorry, God, I always almost butcher her name, Noomi Rapace, and the severed head of Michael Fassbender resume their interstellar travels in Prometheus 2, they can take comfort in the fact that they won't be bothered by any more xenomorphs.
See, that was one of the biggest. That was one of the biggest complaints from viewers of Prometheus 1, was people seemed to think that they just kind of shoehorned that in there just to make a loose connection between the Prometheus films and the Alien universe.
Yes and no, because I'm going to read the quote from Ridley Scott as to why he made this choice, and it really kind of, I think, ties that up and explains why that was very well. His quote is, "The beast is done, cooked." He says simply, "I got lucky meeting Giger all those years ago. It's very hard to repeat that. I just happened to be one of those who forced it through because they said it's obscene. They didn't want to do it, and I said, I want to do it. It's fantastic. But after 4, and he's forgetting the AVP movies, and I'm sure he did that on purpose, I think it wears out a little bit. There's only so much snarling you can do. I think you've got to come back with something more interesting, and I think we've found the next step. I thought the engineers were quite a good start." So instead of kind of going back, and if you think about it, the first Alien movie, Alien and Aliens, are classics. And dipping into the well and touching the classics can be dangerous. I mean, once you go beyond Aliens, they get progressively worse.
It's washed out after a while. It's just
really does. Yeah. So he makes a good point that there's a lot more to that universe that you can explore as to, and like in our first article that I had, there's a lot of things that can happen to cause events to fall into place as they do. So why don't you explore these other things? Why, maybe more about the engineers. What other places did they go to? What else happened? They have a whole universe, and they literally have flown off of the planet to explore somewhere else.
Yeah,
so
anything can happen in Prometheus too.
Absolutely. Now, here's the kicker, though. Seeing as Scott's next movie will probably be the adaptation of Andy Weir's novel, The Martian, and we got to interview Andy Weir in the Sci-Fi Geeks Club, and it was a great time.
I think you should rephrase that, Brad. Our friend Andy Weir.
Yeah, we got along really well. He's a really cool dude, and it was a very fun episode, and you can kind of hear it how well we all got along when you listen to the episode. And he's been working on the sequels to both Prometheus and Blade Runner for years now, with no apparent progress. It may be years before we'll need to bemoan the lack of aliens in Prometheus 2. So
I think the order of which the films should be filmed is The Martian, because they actually, I think, are starting production on that in November.
Yep.
Yeah. Then Blade Runner, just because Harrison Ford's getting old.
Yeah.
Because Noomi Rapace and Michael Fassbender, they're young enough. They're not going to die anytime soon, so they got plenty of time to make that second movie. That's my logic, at least.
No, and that makes a lot of sense. It really does. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm glad. This actually, I believe that article came from the same interview, which I had on the show a couple episodes ago, where Ridley was talking about the progress of these sequels.
Yep.
Where he was on each one, and I believe that's from the same interview. So lots of content. He had a lot to say in that interview. It sounds like.
Yeah, he did.
All right, looking forward to all of that and more. All right, we've got more of the Alien Invasion podcast netcast coming up. But first, we want to know what you think of this show, this episode in particular, or any of our episodes. Feedback, we love it. Give us more of it. Contact at galacticnetcasts.com. Go there, and there'll be all the links to get a hold of us, or just email galacticnetcasts@gmail.com, galacticnetcasts@gmail.com, or we've got a voicemail number as well, 805-328-3966, 805-328-3966.
329. Oh, 32. Oh, I'm sorry. Stepped all over it. No, I was looking somewhere else, and I was looking at a different set of numbers. I apologize.
Oh, no, it's okay. What numbers are you looking at?
My brain is cooked today. I apologize. I totally apologize.
If you do leave us a message, please leave it make it a minute and a half at the most. Because it gets kind of lengthy after a while.
Oh no! Just this give us sonnets of how much you either enjoy or despise, and iambic pentameter if you can.
Wow!
Extra points.
Swallow a dictionary, Brad?
Yeah, I think I did.
805-328-3966 or galacticnetcasts@gmail.com. Moving on to this.
Please identify the craft you witnessed.
A black, triangular, three-dimensional shape, huge, just flying, hovering in it.
Shaped almost like between an egg and like a teardrop.
Two long cylinder objects flying over me.
It had its own. I could see the occupants in it.
Appeared to be rotating, and it was circular to disc shape, and it hovered for maybe about 5 minutes.
That means it's time for the Craft Corner, our spotlight of a certain kind of alien spacecraft, either from fiction or from quote-unquote real life, something that somebody saw up in the sky or on the ground. And Brad, you picked the Craft Corner craft this week. What do you got for us?
Well, we're going fictional again.
Cool.
One of my favorite movies, and for the most part it still holds up to today, even thinking back to when it was made in the 80s, The Last Starfighter. For my money, that is an enjoyable film that you can sit down and watch, and it pioneered so many things. I mean, it was one of the first CGI films. The ships were CGI, some background pieces. There were other bits of CGI that were in the film, and what you could do with a Cray computer at that time was considered legendary, but you could probably get a server farm of a few Intel i7 chips and go to town.
The rendering for that must have taken forever back in 1984. Jesus.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. But the Gunstar is the ship that we come to know and love. Gunstar 1 is actually the ship that they ended up being once all the other ships were sort of taken out in a meteor gun attack. But the Gunstar is the primary space superiority fighter and attack craft deployed by the Star League. Capable of both short and long-range spaceflight, the Gunstar is a two-pilot craft. It is approximately 20 meters in length and carries a pilot and a gunner. Its primary weapons are lasers, photon bolts, and particle beams. A Gunstar is capable of rapid acceleration, and the Gunstars are also able to abruptly stop forward acceleration by using reverse thrusters. Gunstars are equipped with an onboard computer that contains a scanner which can give a navigator information on a ship. The Gunstar, piloted by our main characters that we come to know and love in the film, Alex Rogan and Grieg. Again, he's a amphibious type life form. He's a amphibious isn't right. It's not right.
You don't think so?
No.
What's he look?
Well, he looks like a lizard. He's got this sort of a scaled look. Brownish tint and scales and
that's got to be amphibious.
Extended nose. No, I'm not going to waste the time looking for it. But yeah, the cave on wheels. That was one of my favorite scenes where they're kind of trapped in space there. The ship's mostly out of power, and they just sit and kind of shoot the breeze. Anyways, the ship that they're on was a prototype, and it had a special weapon known as Death Blossom. And the Death Blossom, you push the special button, and it would release all of the weapons that it had on the ship, and just spun in a quick circle and just took everything out. There we go. Yep. So it would just rapidly, the thrusters would fire up, and it would just start spinning in a ball of death and fire and destruction that would just shoot from it, and the rockets would come out from the sort of the interior of the wing support structure that's close to the cockpit and the main body area of the ship. Yeah, a very, very interesting design, and I think one of the earliest attempts at trying to get the physics right for space flight, because they actually had the concept of the reverse thruster to stop the ship. I think they got it a little bit more right in Babylon 5, but of course that was many, many years apart.
Yeah,
but
Babylon 5 is known for their getting it right, right?
Yeah. Or at least being the closest where physicists go, yeah, I can kind of believe that a little bit more.
To Tyson, Neil deGrasse
Tyson, yeah.
Would still find issues with Babylon 5.
Probably. So, yes, the Gunstar is our craft corner, craft of the week.
I love the two pilot crafts, and I love even more the crafts, the space crafts that are based on, like, World War II fighter planes. Like, X-Wing fighter kind of looks like a World War II fighter plane.
Sort of, yeah.
The Viper fighter from Battlestar Galactica kind of looks like one, although you could argue that the Viper is basically a ripoff of the X-Wing fighter from Star Wars.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I like those kind of ships. They're awesome, and this one is kind of along the same lines. I like the two, like you mentioned, the forward and reverse thrusters. You can see them both. That's neat. Gonna have to revisit that movie. I don't think I've seen it since it came out. Like, I don't think maybe I saw it in the theater, maybe not, but I definitely saw it on home video when it came out.
Yeah, that was my first exposure was VHS in the late 80s.
Yeah. How much did you pay for your membership at the video store?
Wow. I think it was Well, I know it was a special that they had dollar rental nights, so it would usually be like $2, $2.50,
But
and then
but memberships though, it seemed like
oh
memberships were spendy to actually get a membership.
yeah, I honestly don't remember. I don't remember. That was so long ago. Yeah.
You're pretty young too. I mean, we're about the same. You're a little bit younger than I am.
Yeah. But I would go to one of the local grocery stores. Was it 29 Super and the Red Owl, Hal's Red Owl. They had.
How did we get back to grocery stores? How did that happen?
Well, I mean, it makes sense. If you're going to go and get groceries, the thought was, well, you probably want to pick up like some soda and some other stuff, and why not get a movie?
Yeah.
It really made a lot of sense. So, like in my neck of the woods in Wausau, 29 Super had a whole huge video selection. Hal's Red Owl had one for a number of years while it was still open. Gosh, I'm trying to think of if there was anybody else that did too. No, those are the only ones I can think of. So that was like the big deal. If you had a VCR, you could go to the grocery store and go get that. And then eventually you had video stores kind of move into town, and we had Video Watch move into town. That was the first one that was really dedicated to that. And then we had Blockbuster.
And Wausau still has the can't think.
We have Hollywood Video.
No, you got the other one. It's not Hollywood Video, or is it? You got some like I forget the name of that chain.
Oh, Family Video.
Family Video.
Sorry,
yeah.
Family. Yeah, we had Hollywood Video. They went belly up, and then Family Video. Yes.
And now you get the red boxes everywhere too, which are super convenient.
Yeah, we've got one outside of the grocery store that's near Anessa and I, and then we've got one at the Walgreens that's just down the road from that. So yeah, we're surrounded.
I was telling my wife tonight that I'm way behind on the movies that have come out this summer. I haven't seen X-Men: Days of Future Past yet. I believe that's now out on DVD.
Yeah.
And Godzilla is out on DVD. So I think we're going to be doing some movie watching this weekend.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Nice.
All right. So that's your craft corner right there. Right there. That's your craft corner.
That's what you got right there. That's what you got right there. It's a craft corner.
All right, let's move on to picks. My pick is a documentary series called Unsealed: The Alien Files. Dun dun dun. It's a very low-budget reality documentary series, and I don't know. Yeah, okay. It came out in 2011, and I'm not sure if they're still making new episodes. And of the episodes they have released, there's very few of them. But well, killing me about this series is it's all done through a narrator, and then maybe one or two like people they have on camera, like experts or whatever. And the guy with the main announcer voice has just got the deepest voice. Unsealed: The Alien Files. That's what it sounds like, but better. So the episode that I watched was called The Top 10 Alien Encounters, and I believe the episode, there wasn't 10, so I'm thinking that the episode that I watched was actually edited for content or edited for time. So it basically investigates recently released documents regarding alien and UFO encounters made accessible to the public in 2011 by the Freedom of Information Act, and each week Unsealed: Alien Files tackles one compelling alien case by opening these previously off-limits secret files. Based on the newly discovered information, the show re-examines key evidence and follows developing leads. And some of the ones that in this particular episode, they talked about Rendlesham Air Force Base.
Yep.
In England. They also talked, what were the other ones? They talked about that famous one in Texas. the one where they saw it was the Triangle craft. I believe that was Texas. But they examined a bunch of different. In this particular episode, they examined a bunch of the really well-known alien or UFO encounters / sightings.
Stephenville, Texas?
Yes, that's it. That's it right there. It wasn't too bad. The only issue I had was they brought up like the really fantastical like theories like Planet X. They talk about Planet X. Of course, if you don't know what Planet X is, it's this supposed planet that's in our solar system that we've never seen, never once seen on a telescope, through a camera, nothing. It's just this planet like out in the far reaches of our solar system, and we just happen to miss it all the time. And that's one of the things that they brought up in this particular episode. Huh. And the other thing that kind of bothered me was they used the heavy use of stock footage. So that's going back to, I think it's a very cheaply done series. They use a lot of stock footage, like things that could be on any, like related to any, like you watch the news, right?
Yep.
And a story will use stock footage of things that could be related to the story, but not necessarily has to be related to the story. It was that kind of series. So if you get a chance, check it out. It's called Unsealed, The Alien Files. Just watch it just for the guy's voice. Unsealed, The Alien Files. Okay, I'm done. Back to you, Brad.
Nice.
What's your pick this week?
My pick this week is I teased this earlier. It's a short film / proof of concept called Envoy, and the story that you get to see is about a boy. It's about a boy, and he has a basketball with him. He's with his older brother and their dog, and it kind of has a Stand By Me feel to a certain degree in that they're walking down this long path and they're having this conversation and they're going somewhere, and you find out that there's been tragedy in their lives, and there's concern that the younger brother, the younger boy, is spending too much time out at this field. And he mentions that there's something out in the corn, and that he needs to see it to believe it. So he throws this basketball that he has into the field, and there's dramatic tension and whatnot, and then the ball gets thrown back. And then he does it again, and the ball gets thrown way past them. It's like it's been shot out of a cannon. So they know at that point that it's not a human being that has thrown this ball.
Brad, do me a favor. Say
yes.
The ball gets thrown back.
The ball gets thrown back.
Okay.
And there it is. All right. So, I don't want to give anything away because, like I said, it's a short film. It's a little over 9 minutes, so it's not a huge investment of time. And you can find it at envoyfilm.com. And we're going to have a link in the show notes on this, but envoyfilm.com is where you can go check this out. Like we were saying before, that the power of CG can be, I mean, you have an incredible amount of power. Like my computer, I'm pointing over here. Obviously, you can't see it if you're just listening to the show. But I've got a pretty decent desktop computer. i7 quad-core threaded. It's got 8. It's pretty powerful, and I do computer rendering and stuff like that of my own. To have that kind of power and to be able to do things, to see this character show up when it comes out of the cornfield and interact with the scenery around it and everything, and we've seen it in other movies, but to know that this smaller proof of concept film obviously doesn't have a huge server farm to make the CG that it does. It's such a cool time to be able to see movies like this, and to know that computers are getting more powerful all the time, and we're going to see more of it, and it's going to get better, and you're going to see things that are even more believable. Long gone will be the days of the rubber mask, and where are the ridges this time from Star Trek, like we were talking about before with prosthesis. It's going to get better, and you're going to be able to do stuff in real time. I was listening to a interview that Andy Serkis did with somebody, and Andy Serkis, because of his work that he's done, starting with Lord of the Rings, has his own company that he has worked, and he recently did the Planet of the Apes films. And he did an interview while promoting this and saying that early on there are like 100 and some odd dots that are put on the face in order to get that full performance, so you don't have that uncanny valley dead-eyed look of a creature. You're seeing the face move as a human being would move, or as an ape would move if it were talking, in the case of Planet of the Apes. But to get that realism, and to know that is even, it's improving, and they're going to get to a point where they're going to be able to do stuff in real time, where you could actually point a camera at an actor or actress and be able to process that and immediately get a new face on that person just in real time. And that's coming someday. And the power of things that it will unlock for entertainment will be amazing.
And at the same time, too, it's also refreshing to see people like J.J. Abrams become such a fan of practical effects.
Yes.
Or like the Star Wars Episode 7. They're using a lot of like Muppets and a lot of costume people out in the desert, that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's definitely a time and place for it, absolutely. But there are certain things that you just can't necessarily do with practical effects. So it's going to be a bit of back and forth, I think, depending on what kind of practical effects house that you have to work with, depending on your budget. A film like Star Wars is going to have buku bucks to be able to do practical effects.
Yeah, and at the same time, like you said, it's cool to see a small independent film like this be able to have these amazing effects just by using an average computer with average computer size and power.
Yep, exactly. So they are looking for funding and kind of a grassroots movement to actually make the full-fledged film. But even your State of the Union that you talked about last time, that we're seeing a lot more of these proof of concept and short films that do so much that more than 10, 15, 20 years ago that you could accomplish with the technology that's available. So we're going to see a lot more independent sci-fi coming our way, and that's really exciting.
Before we go, wanted to ask you: did you catch the season 2 premiere of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Don't tell Anessa, but yes, I did.
We're in public right now, right? You know that.
Oh crap! I'm more than willing to watch it again, because so many wonderful things happened, and there's a little bit of a twist at the end that really tugs at you hard.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it does, definitely. That thing that you're talking about.
That hurt. That really got you where it hurt, and to know that they're in a time slot where they can be a little bit more rough, a little bit more dark than they were last year. You're going to see a bit of a change in the tone. You're going to see a bit of the change in probably the viewership, but I think it's going to find more of the audience it was meant to find in this change. So I think overall, I think it's a good thing. I think a lot of great things are going to happen, and yes, we do get to see Haley Atwell as Agent Carter. at the beginning, which I'm not giving anything away because that was widely reported. And now we know for sure that during the winter break of S.H.I.E.L.D., we're going to get a short number of episodes of the Agent Carter show. So that's really exciting.
She works with an agency that is the precursor to S.H.I.E.L.D., right? SAS or something like that, or
the SSR.
SSR. Okay, I know there's a couple of S's in it.
Yep. No, and it's Howard Stark's. Howard Stark creates the SSR based on all the crazy things that happened in World War II and what happened in the first Captain America film, and the fact that he's an inventor of great note, and working with Erskine to make the Vita rays that helped create the super soldier that is Captain America. He's got a lot of things that he needs to do, and he kind of needs to, but they also need to keep America safe. Hydra had a lot of things that they had raided and that they had discovered in their quest to find supernatural artifacts to try to win the war, and they're there to try to keep that out of their hands. So.
And also another character that's going to be on Agent Carter is going to be Jarvis, the guy that would eventually become the artificial intelligence of Tony Stark's.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was kind of the big surprise to me in the first Iron Man film, that he named the artificial intelligence Jarvis. So it's going to be interesting to see how the actual Jarvis, that was his father's gentleman's gentleman, his butler, but kind of like Alfred from Batman, they both of them were spies and military people that could hold their own. They weren't just carrying a lint brush all the time. They could bodyguard. They could do some serious things. So it's going to be interesting to see this Jarvis character brought to life and find out what kind of similarities possibly between the AI Jarvis and this real live Jarvis as the shows develop.
Two things I wanted to mention, then we'll wrap things up.
Okay.
Number one, I saw an article of a big Easter egg, if you were watching very carefully, to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2 premiere. I
noticed it right away, and then the next day I saw the article, and I'm like, well, who didn't catch that?
Wow, you caught that? Holy crap.
I did. I'm like, hey! And I don't want to give anything away, because the next thing that came out of my mouth when I said it aloud would give something away, and I don't want to do that, but yeah, I did catch it right away. But I'm such a huge comic book nerd. It's not even funny.
Well, I've got my Marvel encyclopedia on the coffee table, ready to whenever there's a new character, I look it up to see who it is. The other thing I wanted to mention is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now has kind of a Warehouse 13 vibe to it, where they're trying to find all these like artifacts that S.H.I.E.L.D. had. They're trying to retrieve them from the U.S. government, who took them from S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep.
All right, that's it. If you want to hear us talk more sci-fi, check out Sci-Fi Geeks Club coming up. We'll be recording that right after this one. Or you can subscribe to it either on YouTube or through iTunes or Stitcher to listen to us blab on about all the great comic book TV shows. Science fiction.
Did you mention that we had some feedback?
Oh yeah, we got feedback before we wrap up. This was posted on our last episode of the Alien Invasion on the YouTube channel. He said, hey guys, huge fan of yours. Loved you guys since I first discovered the Alien Invasion on archive.org, which is where we put all of our episodes. With a name like that, I had to check you guys out. I was immediately hooked and listened to all Galactic Netcast programs in a matter of days. Days, Brad!
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of listening.
God bless you. That is a lot of listening. This is our 118th show? 119th show.
119th, yeah. And they're all on archive. If you look, every single one of our episodes is on archive.org.
And that's about 45 minutes to an hour. Some cases, an hour and 15 minutes per show.
Yeah, and we're talking Alien, the Alien Invasion. We're talking time traveling robots.
Robots in space.
The Sci-Fi Film School.
Yeah.
And the Sci-Fi Geeks Club as well. He says, keep up the good work. Great job. Excuse me. Love you guys. Oh. All right.
And who's the name of our listener, the first name?
I forget.
No!
I didn't copy that. Hang on one second. While I'm looking this up, Brad, why don't you kind of do the wrap-up?
Absolutely. Let's finish this out here.
Yeah, all that stuff.
You can go to our website and click on our social area for our links for Facebook, for Twitter, for Google+. We're all over social media like you would not believe. And you can go to our main website, which is galacticnetcasts.com. You can reach us at our number, which you can leave a message or you can text us. Maybe you don't have the time to talk or leave a message.
September 18th,
hey,
2014.
Hang on
one second.
to another Galactic Net.
And autoplay. Woo! And that number that you can call us or leave a text at is 805-328-3966. Again, 805-328-3966. And you can always subscribe to us. You can go to the Alien Invasion section of galacticnetcast.com and you can go to the subscribe button. And you can subscribe to us there. And you can also find us on iTunes and Stitcher Smart Radio. I love Stitcher. I'm on Stitcher every week, and I listen to so many shows, but unfortunately, I'm like done with them by Wednesday or Thursday, and then I'm sad because I don't have anything to listen to, so I keep looking for more shows.
To follow up with our feedback, his name is Oscar Nunn. So thank you very much, Oscar, for that great feedback. Appreciate
Thank you, Oscar.
Yeah. All right. That pretty much covers it, right?
Yeah, I think we covered it.
Thanks, everybody, for listening or watching. We appreciate it. And we'll be back with another edition of the Alien Invasion in 2 weeks. We're taking next week off because of schedule.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Stuff. So bear with us on that. So, final thought. We only got one this week, Brad. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We are going to be, and this does have a connection. It's not just my comic geekness that's vomiting out of my mouth right now, but they are dealing with something that is alien, that they're wrapping up from the first season, and it's going to have a great deal of importance, and it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds, and the price that Sky and Director Coulson paid for some alien help that they received in the first season, and what price they have to pay for that. So
yeah, if you were watching the first season, you'll understand exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't want to give anything away, so I am being a little a little coy. Yeah, I guess that's the best way to say it. But go back, watch the first season. Yeah, it's a little slow at the beginning, but it's so worth it. So keep up with it, and then jump into season 2 and enjoy. It's going to be a fun ride.
I like the pacing already. I like the darkness and the pacing of the show. It's got a different feel to it this season.
It really does, and it's going to be good.
All right. Thank you very much, Brad. Thank you, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right. Thanks, Dave. 2 weeks.